I still remember the day clearly, like a photo burned into my mind. She walked in, smiling that innocent smile, the one I had once trusted with my whole heart. But something was off. I didn't know it yet, but that smile was hiding a storm that would change everything between us. I had always believed in second chances. I thought forgiveness was a virtue. But sometimes people take forgiveness for weakness. And she was about to show me exactly how fragile my trust really was. It started with small things, forgotten promises, excuses, subtle lies. I brushed them off. Everyone makes mistakes, I told myself. I didn't realize these were breadcrumbs leading straight to betrayal. The first real shock came when I stumbled upon her secret by accident, a message left open, a conversation overheard. My heart sank. The betrayal wasn't just a small crack, it was a canyon. And suddenly, all those little things made sense. The excuses, the late nights, the half-truths, it had been part of a plan I didn't yet understand. I felt a mix of anger, disbelief, and hurt twisting in my chest. How could someone I trusted so deeply betray me so completely? And yet, beneath all that anger, a quiet voice whispered, Asterisk, I won't let this end like this. I will turn this around. Asterisk. I started observing her carefully, noting every habit, every weakness. I realized just how confident she was that I would forgive, that I would let this slide. She underestimated me. And that was my advantage. I knew I needed a plan, something precise, something calculated. It wasn't about revenge for the sake of anger. It was about justice, about exposing the truth, about reclaiming my dignity. The next morning, I woke up with a strange heaviness in my chest. It wasn't just anger anymore. It was the sharp, piercing feeling of betrayal that refused to let go. I started retracing the past few weeks, and every detail suddenly stood out. The way she avoided certain topics, the way she smiled just a little too knowingly. It wasn't a single mistake, it was a pattern. A deliberate, calculated deception. I felt a cold fury rise inside me. The kind that doesn't scream, but quietly sharpens your mind. I spent the next few days cataloging every gesture, every word, every glance. The more I watched, the more the pieces fell into place. The betrayal was about control. She wanted to manipulate, to make me doubt myself. And that was where I drew the line. I began planning my approach with patience and precision. I wrote down every idea, every possible move and countermove. I wanted her to see that actions have consequences, but in a way that felt poetic, like the universe itself was setting the record straight. One evening, I discovered a crucial clue. A message she had left open on her computer, just one sentence, but enough to reveal the true depth of her intentions. I read it over and over, the words sinking into me with a mix of disbelief and resolve. She thought I would never know. She thought I would forgive. But I had seen too much. I began small, testing her reactions. A subtle change in my routine, a pointed question, a conversation that hinted I knew more than I let on. She didn't notice at first, but each time, I could feel a shift, a flicker of uncertainty. These small victories fueled my confidence. I realized that while she thought she controlled the narrative, I had started to write the ending. And then she made a careless mistake, an oversight that revealed more than she intended. In that single moment, I understood just how blind she had been, how sure she was that I would never act. I had all the tools I needed to turn the tables completely. It wasn't enough to confront her directly. My plan had to be bigger, cleaner. I wanted her to experience the shock, the realization, the understanding that she had underestimated me. From that point, every interaction became part of the strategy. A carefully timed word here, a subtle implication there. I let her think she was still in control, while quietly guiding events to expose the truth. The patience was hard. Waiting while she remained oblivious tested my self-control, but I knew that timing was everything. The reveal had to be perfect. I also began reflecting on why this betrayal hurt so much. It wasn't just about the lies. It was about trust, about the way we give parts of ourselves to someone else, thinking they will honor them. And when that trust is broken, It cuts deeper than any anger ever could. But one thing remained clear. I would not forgive blindly. I would not let this betrayal slide. Not because I wanted revenge, but because she needed to understand, and because I needed to reclaim my dignity. I started writing a mental script of what would happen next, imagining her reactions, anticipating her moves. Each scenario was like a chess game, each piece carefully placed. And all the while, she remained unaware, believing her victory was complete. I spent the following week observing, planning, and executing tiny, controlled actions that would slowly shift the balance of power. I dropped hints, left subtle clues, and watched her confidence waver. She didn't notice the pattern yet, but I could see it in her eyes, the cracks forming in her carefully constructed facade. By the end of that week, I knew the moment of revelation was approaching. I felt a strange mix of anticipation and calm, the calm that comes when you are certain of your path. She would soon realize that she had misjudged me completely. The first real crack didn't happen with a dramatic confession. It happened in silence. It was late evening when she walked into the room, trying to act natural. But I could see the tension in her shoulders, the stiffness in her smile. She sensed something, even if she couldn't name it yet. She tried to start a casual conversation, forcing laughter where it didn't belong. Her voice cracked slightly, almost unnoticeable, but to me, it was louder than a scream. And that's when I knew my plan was working. I responded calmly, neutrally. I let her feel the distance without giving her a single reason she could cling to, because she needed to question herself. She needed to replay her lies in her mind. And she did. Over the next 2 days, she became restless, tapping her foot, checking her phone too often, pacing when she thought she was alone. Every tiny behavior was fear wearing a mask. Then came the moment that pushed her closer to breaking. We were in the middle of a normal conversation when I casually mentioned something, a detail she had never told me. A detail connected directly to the plan she thought she had kept hidden. Her reaction was immediate. She froze. Just for half a second. Her eyes widened. Her lips parted, but no words came out. She knew I had seen something, but she didn't know how much. That was the key. Uncertainty. Doubt. Fear of the unknown. I didn't push the moment. I moved on as if it didn't matter, and that made her even more nervous. That night, she barely slept. I heard her moving around, walking back and forth, pulling out her phone, typing and deleting messages. Her panic was already visible. By morning, she had reached a new level of desperation. She wore a smile that didn't match her eyes. Her voice trembled as she spoke. She hovered around me, trying to regain the control she once had. But I remained unreadable, neutral, calm, controlled. Every part of her began to crumble under the weight of my silence. And then it happened, the first big fracture in her story. She gave me a version of an event she assumed I had forgotten. But this time, she changed the details. Just slightly. Just enough to try and shut down any suspicion. But she didn't realize. I remembered everything. And that's when I said it. Just one sentence. A calm, simple line. I thought you said something else last time. That was it. No accusation. No anger. Just a fact. Her reaction was priceless. Her shoulders stiffened. Her breath caught. She blinked too many times. And then she tried to correct herself, but the correction didn't match anything she'd said before. She stumbled over her explanation, panicking, twisting her story. She failed. And for the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. She tried to laugh it off, but her voice cracked. She changed the subject too fast. She moved away too quickly. She had cracked. The mask was slipping. But I wasn't done. My plan wasn't to expose her all at once. My plan was to let her expose herself. So I continued planting seeds, small, precise lines that connected to the truth she was trying to hide. Her reactions grew worse each time. A twitch of the eye. A tremble in her voice. A defensive smile that didn't reach her eyes. She was spiraling. And then, the moment I had been waiting for arrived. She confronted herself. Not with words, but with behavior. She asked me a question she had no reason to ask unless she feared I knew the truth. Did anyone talk to you about me? She tried to hide the fear behind a casual tone, but the tremble in her voice betrayed her. She didn't ask, did you find something? She asked if someone else had told me something, which meant she had a reason to believe someone knew what she was hiding. I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "Why would anyone need to talk to me about you?" The silence that followed was heavier than anything I had ever heard. In that silence, she realized two things. I was no longer the person she could manipulate, and I was steps ahead, and she didn't know how many. She swallowed hard, looked away, and forced a smile that broke halfway through. That was the beginning of the real unraveling. The beginning of the collapse. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, her smile appeared. That same innocent smile she used to disarm everyone. But now it felt like a mask. By morning, something in me had changed. Not anger, clarity. Cold, quiet clarity. I stood in front of the mirror, and my face looked tired, but there was a sharpness in my eyes that hadn't been there before. A fire. A purpose. I wasn't going to play nice anymore. As I got ready, a sudden memory hit me. A week before all this started, Sophia had made a strange phone call late at night. She stepped outside to talk, whispering sharply. She thought I was asleep. At the time, I didn't think much of it. But now, it felt like the missing puzzle piece. And suddenly it clicked. There was someone else involved. Someone who helped her. The betrayal wasn't just hers, it had help. The realization hit me so hard I had to sit down. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from understanding. I wasn't dealing with one betrayal. I was dealing with a network of secrets. And instead of scaring me, it fueled me. For the first time in months, I felt like I was the one in control. I opened my notebook and wrote just one line. This time, I finish it. My voice didn't shake. My hand didn't tremble. I meant every word. But just as I closed the notebook, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. No name. No photo. Just a single line that sent a chill down my spine. I know what Sophia did. And I think you deserve the truth. My heart stopped. Someone was watching. Someone knew. I stared at the screen, unsure whether to respond or throw the phone away. This could be a trap. Or it could be the one person who understood. The message came again. Same line. Same number. I swallowed hard. This wasn't random. Someone was pulling me into the deeper part of the story. I took a deep breath and typed. Who are you? I pressed send. And in that moment, everything shifted. The reply didn't come instantly. 10 minutes passed. 20. Then the screen lit up. I can't tell you my name yet, but I can tell you this. Sophia isn't who you think she is. And she's been lying to you for much longer than you know. A cold wave rolled through me. Longer than I knew? How long? How deep? I typed quickly. What do you mean? Who are you? How do you know her? The three dots appeared, typing, stopping, typing again. Finally, the message came. Let's just say, I've been close to her world. Close enough to see everything she hides. My stomach tightened. Close to her world? What did that mean? Then another message popped up. You're not the only one she betrayed. I froze. Not the only one? So there were others. Sophia had a pattern, a history. I messaged again. Why are you telling me this now? No reply. For a solid minute, nothing. Then suddenly, another message. Because she's planning something else. And this time, you're the target. My breath caught in my throat. What could she possibly want now? After everything? The stranger continued. I don't want to scare you, but you need to be careful. Sophia is not acting alone. She never was. There it was again. That shadowy idea that someone else was behind her actions. Someone pulling strings. Someone I hadn't even considered. Then the stranger said something that made my blood run cold. If you want answers, meet me tomorrow. 7 p.m. I'll send the location. I stared, frozen. Meet them? A complete stranger? Every instinct screamed danger. But the part that needed the truth more than safety pushed me forward. I replied. Fine. Send the location. The response was immediate. You won't regret this. I promise. Just don't tell Sophia. My chest tightened. Why would I tell her? But the stranger wasn't finished. If she finds out, everything gets worse. That final line burned into my mind. I put the phone down. My hands were trembling, not from fear, but from anticipation. For the first time, I felt like I was stepping toward the truth. But something told me that tomorrow's meeting wouldn't just bring answers. It would change the entire story. The night air was colder than I expected. A sharp wind blew as I walked toward the address. Every step felt dangerous, uncertain, but necessary. I arrived at a small, dimly lit cafe. A single figure waited near the back, half hidden in the shadows. I approached cautiously. You came, a calm, steady voice said. I couldn't see the face clearly. I did, I replied. Who are you? The figure chuckled softly. That doesn't matter right now. What matters is what I know about Sophia, and what you need to know about her. I swallowed. You said she's planning something. Tell me. The stranger leaned forward, voice dropping to a whisper. She's been playing everyone, not just you. Friends, coworkers, even people she claims to care about. She's been building a network of influence, manipulating situations to her advantage. And you are just one piece in her plan. A chill ran down my spine. Everything I thought I knew now seemed small. She's confident because she believes no one can touch her, the stranger continued. But you've seen through her. And that makes you dangerous. That makes you the only person who can stop her before she takes it too far. I leaned back, trying to process it all. Why tell me this? I asked. Why not stay hidden? The figure looked directly at me. Because she underestimated you. And because sometimes the truth needs someone willing to act. Someone who won't be swayed by lies. Someone like you. I nodded slowly, feeling the weight of the situation. I wasn't just fighting for my own closure anymore. I was standing at the edge of a storm Sophia had been creating for months. And now? I asked. What do I do? The stranger slid an envelope across the table. Inside were files, screenshots, messages, proof of everything Sophia had done, everything she had hidden. It was overwhelming. The amount of manipulation, deceit, and careful planning was staggering. Use this wisely, the stranger said. Expose her, but don't rush. Let her see the consequences of her actions slowly. She'll crumble faster that way. And remember, this isn't about revenge. It's about justice, about balance, about making her understand what she's done. I nodded, a calm determination settling over me. I had the proof. I had the plan. Now all I had to do was execute it. As I left the cafe, the wind hitting my face, I felt ready. For the first time in months, I felt in control. Tomorrow, the game would change. Tomorrow, Sophia would realize that she had underestimated me. The next morning felt different. Clearer. I took the envelope and spread everything out: messages, screenshots, timelines, voice notes, photos. It was the kind of evidence that didn't just expose lies. It destroyed them. And I knew exactly where to start. I didn't confront Sophia. I didn't call her. I didn't send a single text. Instead, I began with silence. She hated silence. She lived on attention, reactions, and control. And that morning, when she woke up and saw that I hadn't replied to her "Hey, can we talk?" message from last night, she panicked. I knew she did, because 5 minutes later, she sent another. I really want to clear the air. 10 minutes later, please, just reply. I watched the messages come in, and I did nothing. Then I initiated the next step. Using the files I had, I sent a carefully selected message, anonymously, to someone who truly mattered in Sophia's world. Her mentor. The person she always tried to impress. I simply sent a few screenshots that showed her manipulation, her lies. No caption. No drama. Just truth. And within 30 minutes, Sophia's mentor messaged her. The fallout was immediate. My phone buzzed, a message from Sophia. Did you talk to him? Why is he saying this stuff? What did you do? I smirked slightly. She wasn't angry. She was scared. And fear was the first crack in her armor. I replied, calmly, simply, "Did you do something worth exposing?" A long pause. Then, "No. Why would you even say that?" Interesting. She lied even when she wasn't under attack. That told me everything. I closed the messages and reached out to the stranger again. She's starting to panic. Good. Keep tightening the circle. Don't confront her yet. Their calmness was unsettling but useful. I triggered the second domino. A message to one of her closest friends, someone she often vented to behind their back. Just the screenshots of what she had said. That was enough. Within an hour, that friend posted a vague story online. Sometimes the person you trust the most is the one using you the entire time. No names. But Sophia would know. And she did. She called me. Not texted, called. I let it ring. Then ring again. And again. Finally, she sent a voice message. Her voice was trembling. "Listen, I don't know what's happening, but everything is falling apart. Please talk to me. Please." I swear I can explain. Explain what? Which lie? Which betrayal? I didn't respond. Because this wasn't the confrontation moment. Not yet. She needed to feel the consequences closing in from every direction, not from me, but from the truth itself. Throughout the day, more messages came. "Can you please answer? I know something is going on. I can feel it. Just talk to me for 1 second." Her desperation grew. Her confidence shattered. The mask began to break piece by piece. And the best part? I wasn't even touching her world directly. I was simply letting her own lies catch up with her. By evening, she sent the most revealing message yet. "Tell me what you want. Please. Just tell me what you want from me." What I wanted. Simple. Truth. Accountability. Justice. But I didn't answer. Because the story wasn't ready for that moment yet. The next day, I didn't call. I didn't text. I waited. Patience had been my ally, and now it was time for the final act. I sent her one message, short, simple. "Meet me. Noon. The usual place." She hesitated, but she came. She had no choice. Her world had started to crumble, and now she was standing in the eye of the storm. The cafe smelled faintly of coffee and cinnamon. A normal, safe place. And yet, the tension made it feel like a battlefield. She walked in slowly, scanning the room. Her eyes found me, and for the first time, I saw real vulnerability. She sat down, hands trembling slightly on the table. I don't know what's going on," she said, her voice faltering. "You've been distant. Cold. And then, everything." I leaned back, calm, collected. I let the silence stretch, feeling the weight press down on her. "Do you really want to know?" I asked. Her eyes widened. "Yes," she whispered. I slid the envelope across the table. No words. No accusations. She opened it slowly. Her fingers shook as she flipped through the screenshots, messages, timelines, proof of every lie, every betrayal. Her face paled. Her hands dropped. Her voice caught. This can't be true," she whispered. Why would you have this?" I leaned forward, calm but firm. Because I always knew something was off. Because I noticed the patterns. Because I remembered everything you thought I would forget. Tears welled in her eyes, but not for remorse, for the realization that she had lost control. I didn't mean for it to get this far," she stammered. "You didn't think I would find out," I said softly. "No. I thought forgiveness was guaranteed." She looked at me, really looked for the first time. And in that moment, I saw her understanding. The realization that she had crossed a line she shouldn't have. "This isn't about revenge," I continued. "It's about truth. About consequences. About showing you that actions have weight, and lies never stay hidden forever." Her hands covered her face. She didn't cry out loud, but her body shook. And I stayed silent. Let her feel it. Let her own it. The silence stretched, heavy and tense, until she finally whispered, I see it now. I'm sorry." I shook my head. "It's not about being sorry anymore. It's about learning that some choices can't be taken back. That trust isn't given freely. That betrayal has a price. She nodded slowly, understanding dawning. Her gaze dropped. The confident, manipulative mask was gone. Exposed. Shattered. And she hated that it was me who held the mirror. I leaned back, letting her sit with it. This was the twist she had hated all along. Not the confrontation, not the anger, not the exposure. The real twist was that I remained calm. That I didn't let her sway me. That I had observed, planned, and executed without losing myself. And now, for the first time in months, I felt peace. Not triumph. Not revenge. Peace. Because sometimes the greatest victory isn't in causing pain. It's in reclaiming your power. Sophia remained silent, her face pale, the reality finally sinking in. And I knew the lesson had been delivered. The twist had landed. And she would never forget it. The storm had passed. I walked away, not with anger, but with peace. And for the first time in a long time, I felt free. The story ended, not with chaos, but with reflection, strength, and the undeniable truth. Betrayal can break trust, but it cannot break the person who sees the truth and acts wisely.